Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Matt here, and today what we're going to do is actually play some Pokemon TCG Pocket games. So what this video is all about is really to showcase 3 different decks. Now, the number 1 most played deck in Pokemon Pocket is going to be Dialga and Arceus. We covered this at the beginning of Triumphant Light when this new set released. However, Irida is another really big card that made all of these water decks some of the best decks in the game. And when we review the statistics and you look at the win rates for all of the most played decks in Pokemon Pocket, the number 1 card that wins more than any other card in any other deck really is Palkia EX. Now, what's interesting is that there's actually quite a few different ways to play Palkia EX, similarly to Arceus. However, they're all a little bit similar, just with a little bit different style. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to showcase the 3 best Palkia decks, in my opinion, and we're going to talk about them a little bit, and we're just going to play like 1 game with each of these decks. So in this video, we're going to play 3 games, 3 decks, and we're going to go ahead and talk about them, and hopefully get some gameplay, and to hopefully just showcase these decks and how they play, and what the differences are between them. It's going to be pretty casual. Let's hop right into it. So the first deck that we're going to be playing with today is just going to be the 18 Trainer Palkia deck. So 18 Trainer Palkia is really interesting, and let's just kick this off. Let's find a match here. 18 Trainer Palkia actually, I believe, is the number 1 most common way people are playing Palkia. However, I think that's quickly being, I guess, overtaken by the next most played Palkia deck, which is with Origin Form, which we'll take a look at after this. But Palkia EX is definitely one of the strongest cards in the game. There's a lot of reasons for this. I think since Palkia came out, it's been really powerful. It has the slash attack for 30 damage. And then you can Dimensional Storm for 150. Of course, Misty can be extremely good with Palkia, but overall, I think it's a really good late game and early game card, and basically when you're playing an 18 trainer deck, you're guaranteed to have exclusively Palkias. So I think that's a really big advantage to Palkia, where it has that super crazy potential where you can flip coins with, with Misty, and then you can Dimensional Storm early in the game, or we can just sort of set up and start slashing, and then hopefully take a KO or 2, and then have a second Palkia that we go into. The other cool thing is that it's a basic Pokemon with 150 HP. So Palkia is just honestly one of the strongest cards in the game. However, we had 18 trainer decks before this, this format and this new metagame. So what makes them better now? I think realistically, the number 1 thing is probably Irida. Not only do we have Misty, but we have Cyrus, Sabrina, and now we have Irida, which is just a way to heal these Pokemon. We're running Giant Cape in this deck. And yes, we are playing Pokeball. I know some people asked about why you're playing Pokemon in 18 trainer deck. Well, the reason for that is if you don't find your second Pokemon, your second Palkia, then you're never going to win, right? You need both Pokemon to win. And this is a total of 130 HP, even without Giant Cape, and that's a lot of HP for our opponent to go through. We do have a Misty in hand, we have Irida, and we have Research. So I think what we're going to do is we don't really have anything that we need to research here, so I am going to play Misties to maybe try to get an attack off here on this first turn. Let's see if we flip heads with Misties. We don't, unfortunately, but you know what? It's all good. We're going to go ahead and pass. Now, the other thing with the 18 trainer decks is that they can feel a little bit cheesy. I think a lot of people shy away from playing 18 trainer decks because they just don't feel like real strategies, or they don't feel like they should be played the way that they are played. And I think that's a big reason why some people just choose not to play them. But I think in this format and in this particular metagame, they are actually quite good. Last format, we had Pachirisu 18 trainer, which was pretty significant. We are going to play the Potion and the Giant Cape here and just attach and start hitting. I don't know what we're going up against. It is a Psychic type deck. It could be Mewtwo, but we're leading off, our opponent's leading off with a Mew EX, which is pretty terrifying for us realistically, because he can just genome hacking and then KO us. So we have to keep that in mind. We might be able to get a little bit lucky here. And it's funny that in this first match, we're actually going up against a Mew EX in the active spot, because Mew EX is actually one of the number 1 counters to Palkia. And that is definitely a significant talking point right now. Not a lot of decks are playing Mew EX. Sometimes it is kind of thrown into a Dialga and Arceus, and I think that does make sense for the most part, but I think that in general, there's not a lot of counterplay to Palkia other than Mew EX, but just not a lot of decks are playing it. Now here is a very interesting scenario where I think what we have to do is play Irida so that we don't get KO'd by our own genome hacking Dimensional Storm. This is I know I'm not cherry picking matches here, but this is really the only card here that we're going up against that is strong against us, and that is particularly a hard counter here. So basically, we're kind of locked in here because he's going to be hitting us for 150 next turn. It's unfortunate he went second, so he's going to be getting that lead on the energies. We could attach this to the bench here. I think that could be a play. I don't know. I think unless we draw into like a Misty next turn, then I think we're just going to we're going to lose either way here because he's just going to be able to genome hacking turn after turn. And I don't believe he discards the energy because he doesn't have water energy attached, which makes things pretty awkward. So I think what we have to do here is bench to this Palkia. And then I think, honestly, unless we research and draw into a Misty, I think we lose either way. We could Irida here and that would heal us back up. We could also draw into another potion with research. If we play Irida here, we're guaranteed to live, but then we have no real response next turn. So it's a very interesting play, I would say here. I think what we're going to do is research this turn and then let this Palkia in the active just go down. We do draw into a second Irida and the Misty, so realistically, we still have a chance. We took too long. I was taking my time explaining and I wasn't able to attack. Not that it really matters, that 30 damage actually doesn't do anything for us in this matchup, so I was talking a bit too long. I do apologize for that. But yeah, I think next turn, really, we're going to attach and then hopefully just flip with Misties. That's literally, I think, our only scenario to win this game. If we were going second, it would have been different because we would have been a turn ahead on the energies, and we would have been not getting KO'd by our own Dimensional Storm here on turn 3 from a Mew EX. I just think it's funny that this is what we're going up against right now because this is like generally the only thing that Palkia really does struggle against. But honestly, in the format right now, I know we're going up against Mewtwo. And Mewtwo, of course, does run Mew EXs, but most people aren't playing Mew EX in their decks. There's just not a lot of decks that are including it. So here we go. We either are absolutely going to get rolled this game, or we're going to go ahead and hopefully KO this this Mew. We only get one hit on the Misty, so that's a bit unfortunate for us for sure. We're just going to get double rolled by the Mew EX, and that's a big upside to Mew EX, is that Palkia is becoming more popular, so if you can slot Mew EX in your decks, it is a perfect counter to Palkia here. Unfortunately, this is the first game that we're showcasing on the in the video here for 18 Trainer Palkia. It's okay, I think we all understand what 18 Trainer Palkia is, and this is exactly how you get beat when you're playing 18 Trainer Palkia, is just by going up against a Mew EX and going first, and you're probably going to end up losing. We did find both Misties in this game, but we only got one extra coin. Honestly, the better play would have probably been initially to Misty or attach just to the benched Palkia and to let the one in the active just go down. That way we could have at least guaranteed to get an attack off, but you know what? You live and you learn. It is what it is. We're going to keep that game in here, honestly, because that is a great example, truthfully, on how 18 Trainer Palkia, or really any Palkia deck, can end up losing. So the next one, because these are the decks that I want to spend more time on, that's why I'm not going to edit out that video for any reason, is going to be Palkia with Origin Form Palkia. And this is a really interesting deck list because it does incorporate Manaphy. So it's just Palkia, Palkia EX, and then Manaphy. And the Origin Form Palkia is pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and just hop right into a match here. So Origin Form Palkia is a pretty inconsistent card. For 3 energies, it does 60, but you have a 50-50 chance to do another 60 damage. So that's 120 for 3 energies. It's got 120 HP as a basic single prize Pokemon. Not a bad Pokemon by any stretch of the imagination. However, it being a little bit inconsistent can feel a little bit bad, but the cool thing with this deck is that you were able to utilize Manaphy without really struggling with the prize math, right, and the points math. When you're playing Manaphy with Palkia, it can sometimes not feel great because once Manaphy goes down, then our opponent just has to KO one Palkia and then they win the game. When we're playing Origin Form Palkia, you can lead off with Manaphy, which of course we're not leading off with right now, but you can lead off with Manaphy. Use Oceanic Gift, and then even if your Manaphy goes down, you can go into your Origin Form Palkia, and then our opponent has to go through that, and then lastly go through a Palkia EX. So that's kind of how typically that lineup works. I think that Manaphy is a good card, but it's not worth playing as we draw into it. It's not worth playing unless we're also playing maybe another single prize Pokemon to buffer with it. So we are just going to bench the Manaphy. I don't know if we'll end up really using it. We are going to attach a Giant Cape here. We're going second, which is definitely an upside. And we're definitely just going to Misty here. If we get lucky on this Misties, then we could end up just winning the game right here, and this could be a very, very short video. But let's see here. That's 1. Okay, so not 2, but 1 is better than none. And that's the cool thing with Misty. I say cool, it's kind of the annoying thing if you're playing against Misty, but even just that extra energy can be a really, really big difference. So I think that Palkia is really neat because even when you Dimensional Storm, you go down to, or you discard 3 energies, but Misty can always put you above 4 energies. And you need 4 energies to attack, so even if you have 4 energies and you attack, you can slash after that. So there's a lot of upside to Palkia aside from just hitting for 150. Again, like I said, it's got that really aggressive attack. It's the slash attack, 30 damage. It's a lot better than you would think. There's not a lot of Pokemon that attack for 30 damage for 1 energy. Like, it's actually a really significant amount of damage, especially on a basic Pokemon with so much HP that Palkia has. We are going to see the attachment to the Dialga. We are playing Arceus and Dialga. He's going to potion the Arceus. If we see another potion, that could be pretty significant. But I think even with Giant Cape, he's going to be in range of getting KO'd by our Dimensional Storm. So let's see what we draw into here. Nothing super significant, but I think what we have to do definitely is probably play this Sabrina because we want to bring that Arceus up into the active spot. He doesn't have a lot of cards to retreat out. Both of his Pokemon have a retreat cost of 2. So early Sabrina is one of those cards that can be really useful. I tend to suggest not playing early Sabrina because it's typically better in the late game, but I do think against Arceus and Dialga, it is a little bit better. Arceus is that main Pokemon that they are going to try to set up. Dialga in its own right just isn't that great. It can accelerate energies to another Dialga on the bench, but it has to be a bench Pokemon. So basically, attacking an active Dialga is okay, but you really want to target those Arceuses. And again, they're playing 2 copies of Leaf in their deck. Our opponent's going to concede right there. Let's play one more match with Origin Form, Palkia, and Palkia EX, because I like this deck. We're going to thank our opponent. But as you can see, that early Sabrina really did kind of win the game. Our opponent just didn't have a way to get out of the active spot with the Arceus, and going down one Arceus is just tough in that particular matchup. So early Sabrina, definitely really, really good. If you want to counterplay against Dialga and Arceus, I think going second, of course, is really, really good. Palkia EX actually has a pretty good matchup against Dialga and Arceus. I think the main reason for that is just the damage potential and the ease in which we can KO a lot of their Pokemon. We're going second again, which is pretty strong. That's a strong start. We are starting Origin Form Palkia, which is really the worst Pokemon to start with in our deck. We do have a Leaf, though, which is pretty good, but no Pokeball, no Research. So we'll see kind of what we're able to do in this match. Last match, we kind of rolled, but now we're going against an Electric-type deck, which is interesting. We are entirely weak to Electric, so that's not great. That's the other cool thing about these Palkia decks and the Water decks is that Electric-type as a type right now is probably one of the lesser common types. It used to be like the best type in the game, and I do think Electric-type is very good in its type advantage. Again, a lot of Pokemon are weak to Electric still in the format, but just not a lot of Electric type decks in Pokemon are seeing play. We see the Shaman and a Pikachu, which is really interesting. This could be just a Pikachu Electric type Arceus deck. That could be pretty interesting. Okay, we find the Pokeball, which is really cool. So if we draw into even a Palkia EX or a Manaphy, that could be really big. It is Palkia EX, so this is cool. What do we want to do here? Do we want to play Misty or Leaf here to just start attacking? I think it's probably better for us to attach and then Leaf this turn. I don't think we really benefit by rolling Misties. It's just inconsistent, and then we wouldn't be able to retreat out either way. So I think we're going to save Misty for next turn. I would rather get the 30 damage off on this Pikachu and kind of force some early damage here. Now, we again have to keep in mind, we are going to Giant Cape the active Palkia for sure. I don't know exactly what we're going up against, so it's hard for me to, I guess, calculate whether Giant Cape and then extra HP is going to be useful in this matchup. But since most of the time, like, they're going to be hitting us for weakness here, so that's plus 20 Giant Cape. We'll go ahead and attach it to the active Palkia EX, doing 30 to the Pikachu. Hopefully they don't find a Raichu. However, they just have the research here, so pretty likely that we're going to see a Raichu come out. We see the Arceus, so this is, like I said, going to be one of those Electric type Arceus decks. Pikachu or Raichu, this Resilient Link Raichu, is really interesting. It's not like the greatest card. Its attack isn't that great, but I mean, it does take less damage from attacks. It takes 30 less damage, so that is pretty significant, honestly, but it's really significant, I guess, for us, to be honest. But I think we're okay. I think, honestly, we have enough HP. We have Irida in hand. He's not doing that much damage to us. Like, the Spark attack from Raichu just isn't that great. It does 40 and then 20 to one of our bench Pokemon. It's not a terrible attack. It's just not that great. Let's bench this Palkia. We haven't seen Manaphy yet. Well, we have seen Manaphy, but we haven't been able to use it yet in these games. So we are going to Misty the active and hopefully maybe just attack and KO this active Raichu. That could be pretty good. Nope, we're not going to be able to do that, which is definitely unfortunate. But yeah, this Slash attack I don't think is going to do any damage yet. He takes 30 less damage from attacks, which is pretty funny, actually. This ability is not that good because it's not going to stop Raichu from getting KO'd. I think Raichu only has like 90 or 100 HP, so a lot of Pokemon are still going to be able to one-hit KO Raichu. But realistically, he is going to be immune to our Slash attacks, and he is hitting for weakness. So it is a fairly significant matchup here for our opponent. However, once we Dimensional Storm, then we should be in a fairly decent position to just start KOing here. Although, you know, he could just go Raichu into Raichu, and that could be kind of annoying to us because we don't have too many answers to it. We do have an Irida in hand, though, so this is interesting. What we're seeing is a lot of counterplay to... Do we want to wait on Irida is the question here. I think we actually do just want to Misty because we're living a hit next turn no matter what, and then we can Irida after that. Double tails on the Misty, that is unfortunate. That's definitely not what we want to see here, but let's just go ahead and Slash for 0 damage. And So because we're not taking the KO on Raichu this turn, basically what's going to happen here, I think, is that, yeah, we're in kind of a rough spot because he's probably going to draw into a second Raichu. Or no, he's going to set up the Arceus. Okay, that's totally fine from our opponent. I don't know if I really agree with the attachment on the Arceus there, though, if I'm being entirely honest, because he's going to hit us for 60 and then we're going to heal for 40, which means that we're going to be able to KO, but he's not even going to be able to attack us next turn. So this is an interesting scenario. Definitely a very interesting, like, play from our opponent here. A Sabrina definitely could be really good for us as well, but Irida here, I don't know if it's going to actually matter. Does Irida matter here? I guess it would heal up this Origin Form Palkia on our bench, but what we are going to do is just, I think, start... Well, we have to KO the active, so let's do that. Irida, is Irida going to do anything? I guess not, but I mean, we might as well just play it, right? To heal? No, I don't think it's worth playing it to heal. He's not even going to be able to attack us next turn, so we're just going to go ahead and Dimensional Storm. The 20 damage to the bench isn't going to do too much. It's funny, actually, the Raichu on the bench still gets protected from the Arceus, which is actually hilarious. Yeah, since he can't attack us this turn, we're not going to go ahead and play our... So now this is pretty interesting. If we have... Really, all we need to do is draw into Cyrus, I think, although Shaman's going to start healing. That's a pretty significant card in this particular matchup. Like, this matchup isn't great for us. Oh, the second Shaman, okay. So yeah, this is definitely not great, because realistically, this Arceus is always going to be above 150. He's going to be at 160 no matter what. What we can do, technically speaking, is go into Palkia, and then he can't retreat for free, though, which is kind of funny. Okay, so here's the deal. I think for sure, is we are going to attach here. Irida's not going to save us from Arceus, but I don't think he can. He might have X speed in hand, so he could attach to the Arceus, X speed in, and then KO us. That would be not ideal for sure. I think what we're going to do here is pass. I think we're just gonna pass. Missing both Misties this game is actually pretty bad for us. So there's the bench. So we're going to see the X speed, or the Leaf rather, which is totally fine. So yeah, we're not in a good spot. I think we're probably going to end up getting rolled by this Raichu deck. Also a pretty good counter. I mean, what are the odds that we play two decks that actually counter our decks pretty significantly here? It's actually not super great. Not super great for us, but we are living a hit from Arceus with Palkia, so that is somewhat substantial. But we don't have any way to like attack reliably, which is tough, right? Like, we're not going to be able to get that fourth energy on our Palkia, which kind of just feels bad. Also, we might just have Cyrus, which would end up losing us the game either way. So we didn't draw into our early Sabrina. We missed both of our Misties, so this was certainly not a good showing. This particular matchup was not a good showing for Palkia and Origin Form Palkia. And yeah, there's the Cyrus, which is definitely just going to win him the game. So maybe Irida would have been better, but we would have had to attach to Origin Form Palkia to end up getting that win. Raichu, I think, just honestly is enough. Like, that, I think the protection or the damage mitigation from Raichu plus hitting for weakness is actually exactly like what that card needs to go up against Palkia, which is pretty funny. But you know what? That's not necessarily a deck you're going to find in a competitive play or anything like that. But again, we'll keep in the match. It's good to see. I mean, honestly, we're playing two decks. I mean, we played Mew EX and then we played Raichu and Arceus, which are actually two really strong counters to Palkia, which is pretty funny. But anyway, that's Origin Form, Palkia, and Palkia EX. I think what we could do is play one more match, but you know what? It's okay. I think we kind of understand what's going on here. I could sit here all day, play a bunch of matches, and try to just showcase, you know, what the deck can do at its most powerful, or I guess at the, you know, when you draw the best, or when you flip heads with Misties. But that doesn't always happen, right? Listen, realistically speaking, when you're going up against Electric type decks like Raichu that pretty much perfectly counter Palkia, then you're in a tough spot, especially when you flip Tails of Misty twice, like, and then that just happens. But okay, so lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to showcase the last Palkia deck that is actually my favorite way to play Palkia right now, which is going to be with Starmie. So Starmie is really, really fun because I actually think Starmie is one of the better Pokemon in the game right now that isn't seeing enough play. By far the least often, or the least commonly played version of Palkia, but actually has as high of a win rate as really any other deck in the format right now. about 53 to 54%. Starmie with Giant Cape goes to 150 HP, you have access to Irida, you have free retreat, and you can attack for only 2 energies, which is just really, really good. It does 90 damage, so it can 2-hit KO almost everything in the game. I really like Starmie. This deck, we're playing 2 copies of Starmie and then just 1 copy of Palkia, so it is definitely a Palkia-focused deck, although we are staring down a Skarmory and we're going first, which is absolutely terrible here. I'm pretty sure we might just end up losing here because he's going to hit us for 50 damage. So that is not at all what we want. However, technically we do have a chance here to not lose on our first turn. I guess we are playing Giant Capes, I think, in the deck, but a second Starmie technically does let us live here, which is pretty significant. So let's go ahead and just Misty the benched Starmie here because the Skarmory is probably going to just KO us next turn. So we have to just draw into, okay, all right, let's go. Sure. We'll take 7 energies for no reason. Why not? This Skarmory is definitely going to KO us. Going first against Skarmory is, you know, not great because he's going to just definitely hit us for 50 damage here. And I guess that is kind of a downside to Staryu right now is that there are actually a lot of Pokemon that are hitting for that 50 damage threshold. There's Sudowoodo, there's Carnivine, and there is, of course, Skarmory, which are kind of the 3 like top aggressive Pokemon that can all hit for 50 damage for 1 energy on their first turn, and that is a really, really big deal. Our opponent could get massively unlucky here, but Skarmory typically always starts with at least 1 tool card, and somehow he does not start with the tool card, which is absolutely insane to me. I would have never expected that to be the case, honestly. Okay, so I think what we have to do for sure, we do draw into the Giant Cape like a turn too late, although this is a really funny match. We are going to go in and then just smack with this Staryu because at least it's going to be living this turn. We have 13 cards in our deck. No research has been seen yet. We did have a Starmie, but we had to discard it because, again, my assumption was that we were going to get hit by 50 damage, which is why I Pokemon communicated away the Starmie to find another Staryu so that we wouldn't lose after our first turn. But here comes the Sabrina. He's just going to go ahead and try to KO this. I assume he has a tool card now. If he doesn't, then that's pretty awkward. I don't know why he would have played the Sabrina. Definitely an interesting play if we don't see the tool card from our opponent. But he's got 11 cards in deck, and he's probably playing at least 4 tool cards. So yeah, that's a pretty unfortunate play from our opponent there. I don't know exactly how that happens. That's pretty unlucky, I would say. Let's go ahead and just potion. Why not? We'll just hit with the this Starmie here. Okay, so things are looking pretty awkward, and this is one of the most awkward starts I've ever had to a game playing Starmie. Wow, okay. Our opponent has to have drawn into a tool card here. He's got 10 cards left in deck, so if we don't see another tool card from our opponent, that is absolutely insane. Super, super unlucky. Skarmory it's interesting. Like, the difference between Skarmory, okay, a potion, it's Skarmory and Carnivine and then Sudowoodo is that they all have different conditions to do that full 50 damage here. Okay, he has the Giovanni, so he is going to be able to KO our Starmie, which is pretty funny, actually, that it came down to a Giovanni instead of a it came down to a Giovanni instead of a tool card, which is pretty funny. Okay, do we draw into something here? We do have a Palkia left in our deck. We have Pokeballs. We do have, okay, so literally nothing that we can use still, which is crazy. We have 8 energies on the Staryu. No Starmie, no Palkia, no research, no Pokeballs. This is certainly not what we want to see for sure. We do have Irida technically, so again, I'm assuming we're going to see a tool card very soon from our opponent here. If it's a Rocky Helmet, then that is also kind of bad. Okay, so Giant Cape comes down. He's going to attach it to the bench. He's probably just going to go into this Skarmory, which does put him at 100 HP, which honestly, like I said, is actually really significant because that puts him out of range of a Staryu attack here. But no, he's just going to go ahead and hit us for 20 in the active, which is pretty funny. It is going to bring us down to 50 HP, and we find the Pokeball. So we will find a second Palkia here, which is pretty funny. For sure, but Palkia might be able to carry us through this matchup. We'll have to see. We are going to go ahead and attach here, and then I think we're kind of forced to play Irida, which is pretty funny. But yeah, we're definitely going to go ahead and do that so that we're at least out of range of getting KO'd, and then maybe we still draw into a Starmie next turn, or a Staryu, or a Starmie, yeah. Starmie and Staryu, I kind of get them confused sometimes. Yeah, this is honestly one of the more awkward games that I've ever played with this deck, which is hilarious because I don't record a lot of gameplay on the channel. But you know, sometimes it just goes like that. That potion, the second potion, is actually pretty clutch from our opponent. Is he gonna just stay in? Did he draw into? He probably drew into that potion, right? He probably didn't draw into another tool card. This is hilarious that he's got 8 cards in deck and he only has 1 tool card. He is just gonna go ahead and hit the Staryu. That's fine. Do we draw Starmie? We don't. We draw into a Giant Cape, though, which is something, I suppose. Okay, so now I think what we definitely have to do is probably go into our Palkia. I don't really want to, but I think we kind of have to. Let's go ahead, retreat. We have 8 energies on this Staryu, which is awesome. We're gonna go ahead. And we are gonna play the Sabrina and then hit the Skarmory in the active for 30 damage. That's really our play, I think, right now, to put it in range of a Starmie if we go ahead and at least draw into it. I don't know what our opponent is playing with Skarmory. I assume he's playing some other type of Pokemon to pair with it. Maybe it's the Fossil, maybe it's Bastiodon. Here's the Rocky Helmet. Okay, so interesting. He's probably just gonna go ahead and hit us for 50, which is a significant amount of damage. Yeah, okay, so he's gonna go into the Skarmory. I think that's a totally fine play. The Rocky Helmet extra damage is going to be pretty significant for sure. And then now I think, again, we're kind of reliant. Okay, he is just going to go ahead and try to KO the Staryu. That's actually an interesting play from our opponent, and I don't know if I really... I mean, I guess I agree with it. Being down both our Staryus with both Starmies in the deck with 8 cards is very unlucky for us, but I think that's honestly going to be the difference here. Unless we draw into like another Irida, or we go into Misty and we flip heads a couple times with Misties, like I don't know if we're going to have enough pace to win this game. And I think what we might have to do here is pop the Cyrus, because I don't want to take the Rocky Helmet damage. So I think that's kind of the play here. This is super awkward. But he's out of potions, but the thing is, like, this 30 damage, like, isn't really helping us. We don't want to forget to attach for sure. But at least we're not taking Rocky Helmet damage here. We basically have to, yeah, because we have 4 turns, technically, of taking attacks before we get KO'd. But the cool thing is that this Dimensional Storm is going to do 20 damage to the bench, which should put him below that 40 HP so that we can just KO with Slash. And there's the Armor Fossil, okay. And with Rocky Helmet, sure. This is a really, really funny matchup here. Very unfortunate that we just didn't draw into our Starmies, and those are just dead cards in our deck now, which is definitely not great. We're going to play Research next turn. He's going to go into this Skarmory. I think that's definitely the correct play. So let's see what happens, I suppose. The Pokeball, let's just play it. It's not going to do anything for us. It'll shuffle our deck. Okay, so 6 cards in deck. Let's draw 2 here. One's the Starmie, and one's another Research. Sure, why not? And I think what we have to do is Dimensional Storm now, and then playing that Cyrus was definitely kind of not great. Like, it's not a great thing for us. And we're going to get hit for 50 now, and now the Bastiodon is probably going to put us in a really awkward spot. But if he doesn't, well, he's probably going to evolve here, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know if we... Oh, he bunches another Fossil, which is kind of interesting. Definitely an interesting play. Okay, so... Yeah, I think without an Irida, we just lose, which is a bit unfortunate for sure, because now the Sheldon is just going to be able to KO us, which is pretty funny. Oh, a Potion, which is pretty clutch, but no, I think we lose either way, which is a bit unfortunate for sure. So let's go ahead, Slash for the KO, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we're just going to get KO next turn by Bastiodon, because we just didn't draw into our Starmies. Listen, we had that Starmie in our hand originally. I was afraid of getting hit for 50 damage and getting KO'd. So not a great showing so far in this video. We've lost basically, I think, more games than we've won, to be honest with you, but the luck is pretty tough here. He might not have Bastiodon, if we're being honest with you. He might not. Does he have the Bastiodon? 3 energies. There's the Bastiodon. Okay. And he's doing almost a perfect amount of damage to KO us. So shout out to our opponent here for just hitting with Skarmory like 15 times and just, you know, us just not drawing into our Starmies at all. Listen, let's play one more game. We'll play one more game here. Hopefully get a little bit better luck. I'm not editing out any of these games. I don't know if you guys find it entertaining to watch me lose, but you know what? When I cover matches, like when I cover decks, I like to showcase like what really happens when you play the deck. You know, I'm not like disappointed. I'm not like embarrassed to lose. Like it's Pokemon Pocket. Like a lot of times you're going to lose. And decks like this, in the most competitive decks in Pokemon Pocket are at like 55% win rates, which is what all of these decks are very close to, but that means you're losing 45% of the time, right? So listen, it's not like you're, you know, auto winning too many matchups, but let's play one more game to wrap up this video here and hopefully showcase maybe what Starmie is able to do other than just not show up ever. That would be pretty ideal. The beginning of last match was actually super funny if you really think about it, where we Pokemon communicated away our Starmie for another Staryu, but our opponent didn't draw into a tool card, and then we ended up never drawing into that Starmie again, which is just a funny outcome. Like the outcome of that match was absolutely hilarious here. Still no Starmie, but we do have a giant cape, so I guess that's something. To be fair, like, this Heatran's not doing a lot of damage unless we attack it first, so I don't really have a reason to do that. It is getting KO'd by a one-hit, it is getting one-hit KO'd by Starmie, which is pretty cool. But let's see here what we're able to draw into. We got 12 cards left in deck. We have both Misties in our hand, an Irida, Giant Cape, and a Potion, but unless we draw into either our Palkia or our Starmie, then we're just obviously not really doing much. Technically speaking, this deck should very consistently draw into your Starmie, right? I mean, we have Pokemon Communications. We're not running that many different Pokemon. It is pretty likely that you either have Palkia or a Starmie early in the match. It's not very often that that does happen. He gets the RCs down, and we are playing Infernape, which is a pretty significant card. Infernape does one-hit KO us. Even, or well, with Giant Cape, I guess not, but okay. A second Starmie, or Staryu was pretty funny. Are we going to Giant Cape this? I don't know. This is an interesting scenario. Do we want to attack this? If we attack this, we die, right? So that's kind of how it happens next turn. So I don't know if we really want to do that, which is pretty funny. So I think what we have to do is just commit energy to the bench and probably just pass. Honestly, if like, this is not a great start for us for sure. At least we are living a hit. We can kind of guarantee that we're living, but this Infernape is just going to get set up, yeah, which is definitely what he's going to do. He probably has the Infernape in hand, if we're being honest with you. And a research, okay, so we might be able to draw into the Starmie here. That would definitely be really, really ideal. We don't, okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and just bench this Palkia. Unfortunately, drew Palkia with Pokeball, and that is our last basic Pokemon, which, you know, definitely isn't super ideal. But really, I think our saving grace next turn is going to be potentially to... yeah, we're saving the Giant Cape for the Palkia for sure. Our saving grace next turn is definitely going to be these Misties, because Palkia should be able to take the KO on Infernape EX, which is definitely really good. There comes the Infernape, so he is going to go ahead and just KO our Staryu, which is a little bit awkward. If he has Dawn in hand, then he might be able to attack next turn as well, which is pretty scary, but all we have to do is get a little bit lucky here with our Misties, and then we should be able to just KO the Infernape next turn, which would be definitely really, really ideal for us. We could get unlucky for sure, but if he doesn't have Dawn in hand, then after he Flare Blitzes, he's not going to be able to really attack again next turn. But even if he does, like, I think we're chilling because he can't like Dawn or whatnot. So I think honestly, Palkia probably will just win us the game here. All we have to do is just like flip at least one heads with Misty here, and I think we're kind of in a really good spot. But let's go ahead and try it. So let's do this here. If our Staryu goes down, again, that's obviously not great. But that's one heads. Do we get a second? We do. Okay. So this is, you know, the upside to playing Misty and Palkia and all this cool stuff, right? Is that we're able to just kind of do crazy, you know, Palkia shenanigans like this. And yeah, we're definitely going to go ahead, hit for weakness on this Infernape, and unfortunately, we are going to take Giant Cape damage here, but that is a really significant one-hit KO on an Infernape EX here. Yeah, I don't know if our opponent's running Giant Cape. I don't know. I think does Infernape bring Giant Cape? I don't know if it does, but it probably should with, you know, how popular Palkia is in the format right now. But, you know, Pokemon Pocket's very matchup dependent as well. Like a deck like this, like we're pulling up against right now, Infernape, is obviously not super, super strong against Palkia. So, you know, we got to kind of keep that in mind here. What's really awesome right now, though, is that, oh, there's the Starmie, which is really cool. Okay, so here, okay. Here's the interesting scenario for us right now, right? If we play this Potion, we're living, right? What we can do here is Potion. This is an interesting play, isn't it? We can Potion, and I think unless he has like a Giovanni or something, we're not getting KO'd because he only does 80 damage, right? But if he does have a Giovanni, then we lose. However, we can play Misties and potentially just KO this turn with Starmie, which could be pretty funny, but I think we would rather just do the safe play in Irida here. I'm getting a little bit crazy. Like the correct play definitely there is, yeah, is going to be to play the Irida. That's probably why he conceded when he saw it, because he probably does have Giovanni in hand. But anyway, okay, so there it is. That's we played more than 3 matches, so I do apologize. I know I said we would only play 3 matches, but you know what? Sometimes the games don't go well and you want to showcase the decks properly. So you know what? I think we played like 5 or 6 matches. I think we won half of them. I'm not sure. Probably what you would expect when you're playing really any deck in Pokemon Pocket. But no, Palkia is one of the strongest cards in the game right now. All 3 decks that we showcased today all have extremely high win rates. Some see more play than others, but one thing is for sure is that Palkia is honestly the most highest winning card in Pokemon Pocket right now for a variety of reasons. I think that the water type just has more support than really any other type in the game. I think if you're playing, I think you're either playing Dialga and Arceus, or you're probably playing a counter to Dialga Arceus, which would probably be Rampardos and Lucario. But if you're not playing those 2 decks, then I do think that some of these water decks, and particularly Palkia decks, are your next best option, or really the other best option in the metagame right now. So Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below how you're playing Palkia right now. Comment what your opinions on those games that we played right now. Very typical Pokemon Pocket games, if we're being honest with you right now. We played some decks that we were strong against, some decks that we weren't strong against. That's just how it goes. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next time. And yeah, bye.